Diets and workouts, you've done the work, so why can't you get to your goal weight? That's because up to 70% of your weight is predetermined by your genetics. So while you've been told that it's all about your willpower, you're actually fighting your biology. Don't do it alone. Found's Doctor Design program uses medication as part of a treatment plan that targets your body's unique biological needs, so that your body works with you and not against you. Take the quiz at joinfound.com to see if Found's weight loss program is right for you.
This is GoPowerCat.com publisher Tim Fitzgerald. Thank you for listening to this PowerCat podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode of the PowerCat podcast by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast network. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a subscriber to GoPowerCat.com. We cover the Wildcats like no one else, with our VIP customers enjoying one-of-a-kind coverage from our team of professional journalists. And sign up today for an annual subscription to GPC and grab a 30% discount on your first year. And now here's the PowerCat Podcast.
The following is a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowerCat.com's Tannahill and Spiller Powercat Podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here are your hosts, former K-State tight end Travis Tannahill and former Wildcat safety Monte Spiller.
Welcome to the Tannahill and Spiller Podcast this week. Coming at you, had a week off last week with the bye week for K-State, so excited to be back in the studio with my man Monte Spiller.
What's going on?
After exciting Saturday.
Yeah, we got to win.
Shoot. Talking to a couple guys before the game and a couple of the staff, and the attitude was, we need to win. We need to win bad. And that's kind of how they played. But before we jump into K-State, I always like to touch on a little high school football. How'd you guys do Friday?
Hey, man, good news. We got to win. We played Clay Center. They came in definitely a worthy opponent, and we came out with the victory, 54-14. Shout out to Coach Sieben.
Oh, that's a butt whooping.
Yeah, it was a good one.
That's always good. It's one thing to beat crappy teams by 50-something to nothing, or 50-something to 10. But when you beat a good team, when you just lay it on a good team, that's a pretty good feeling.
It definitely makes film on Sunday a lot easier.
Playoffs coming up, sounds like. We got one more game of districts?
One more game of districts, and then you kind of figure out where you're going and who you play. So we want to finish strong. Don't take any team for granted and keep going and going into the playoffs. And a lot of times you get good teams who get on a roll and surprise some people, and some teams that have been dominating all year get upset. So trying to keep the guys focused and keep them understanding the eye on the prize and do the little things. So
yeah, there's nothing better than good old high school Kansas football. I know it's been, 29? So it's been, 12 years since I've played back in high school. But, man, it's fun, and obviously went through that playoff time, do or die,
right.
Win or go home. And
oh, yeah.
Last game for most of those seniors. So it's always an emotional, hard-fought battle once the playoffs start. So best of luck to you.
Appreciate
Moving on. Jumping into K-State, though. First off, were you at the game?
I was.
Awesome.
I was.
Same here.
Beautiful weather.
Man, we have been fortunate.
Seriously.
We have been super, not to complain. I was a hair hot. I was like, you know what? I could use a little shade.
Right.
And I'm not ever going to complain for a late October game to be a little warm. Could be raining and 40 degrees, which would be miserable. So
it is Kansas.
Yes, it is. But, yeah, tailgating experience is great. That 1:30 kickoff, love that kickoff time. First, let's go pregame. How were you feeling going into the game? Did you feel confident? Were you a little nervous? Did you feel like it was going to be a coin flip? What were you feeling?
Yeah, a little bit nervous, not overly nervous, but Gary Patterson, he's a proven coach in the Big 12. I think he's probably the longest tenured coach in the Big 12 currently, if I'm not mistaken. And,
trying to think.
I think he is. I could be wrong, but I think
maybe Gundy, but
yeah, and
I think he might have Gundy out.
He might. But he's been at TCU for a while, and the guy, he's a defensive mastermind, and they were coming off a loss, as we were. So, desperate. They were desperate, and they have talent. They have talent. But, I felt like we had the opportunity to win, but I wasn't overly sold on us winning the way we played 2 weeks ago. But I was glad that we got the victory.
Yeah, I think it's a good a good chance and good opportunity just to step back and kind of think. Gary Patterson's been at TCU a long time, and they've had some good years and they've had some average years, and it's just this Coach Kleiman staff coming in and inheriting a very average team, which a lot of times when coaching staffs comes in, like the Les Miles down in Lawrence, I mean, he's inheriting a total rebuilding project where Coach Kleiman was able to come in and inherit a pretty average team. We're missing a couple guys, and we're missing some depth. We've seen some guys get hurt, which has really hurt us this year. But it's even a guy like Coach Patterson, and who's had control of that program for a long, long time. Even he's going to have his down years, and we see them struggle. And so I just think it's a good reminder as a fan base that, like, we're new coach, 4-2,
right? We're
doing all right.
Yeah,
so
definitely. I was impressed with the way we stayed the course. First play of the game, my biggest concern, being a secondary guy, a defensive guy, I normally don't watch the interior line, but initially I watched to see how our O-line was going to respond, and sure enough, the first play, TCU's defense there's some grown men. I think the Big 12.
Oh, yeah, they had some dudes.
Golly, man. The Big 12 is just stacked with defensive linemen, and week in and week out, it's a new group coming in. And I know that our O-line is working hard, but they had their hands full. And I know Skylar understands what's going on, but we did settle down a little bit. We were able to establish a little bit of a run game later in the game, and it opened up the passing game. But there was a time where we looked lost. Yeah,
you go down the stat line here, and, excluding Skylar, James Gilbert averaging 2.7, Trotter averaging 2.3. Everyone else is 0 or negative.
Yeah.
I mean, and even Skylar averaging 6.8. What do you have? 10 carries on 90 yards, and about, I think 60 of those were on one carry.
One run,
so he'd be about 9 for 30, which I'm not too great at math. That's under 3 yards per carry as well. So, this offensive line has probably been the biggest – I don't know if disappointment is the right word. That's a strong word. But I thought that was going to be one of our strong points. And it's definitely shown up to be – it's definitely not an asset. It might be a neutral or maybe a slight liability. But and it's hard to get – you see Coach Kleiman and you hear Skylar and you hear all these guys talking in the locker room. Our guys are playing their tail off. And you look at them, and they are.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to get, like – super mad at them, but it's like we just got to figure out a way to execute better. They're playing hard. And offensive line, I don't remember off the top of my head too many, if any, boneheaded, false starts or holdings or anything too crazy. So they might have had 1 or 2 in there. But it's not like they were shooting themselves in the foot from a penalty standpoint. So it's that offensive line's just got to find a way to – and that's a senior-led – core there, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint what exactly it is, and hopefully they're living by that motto of getting a little bit better, working together, and two, let's not discredit the new offensive scheme, which everyone talks about the quarterback and the wide receiver. Let's not forget those run plays are brand new for this offensive line. So whenever you're trying to learn new offensive plays, your brain thinks a little slower, which means your body's a little slower. So hopefully, as we progress through the season, that that confidence, that execution that's really needed from that offensive line will be there for the run game. Because you can't average, even with Skylar in there, we average 2.8 yards per carry.
Yeah.
You're not going to win a lot of ball, but you're not going to win any, other than against TCU, you're not going to win hardly any conference ball games rushing under 3 yards per carry.
Exactly. You have to establish a run, no matter. And the Big 12 has the reputation of being a pass-happy conference, which we do have prolific passers. We do have great receivers. We got a ton of speed and on every team. But we do have some great running backs. The kid from Oklahoma State, Hubbard, he's a dude. He's a stud. And got a bunch of other guys that can run the ball. The kid from Baylor, he's a stud. So, and they established run. Puka Williams from KU, he's a great player. And it's one of those things where at K-State, we have been known predominantly to be the run first, pass second team in the Big 12 because our O-line establishes the line of scrimmage. in the last couple of games, it's been a struggle.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. You know, I would never give up on our guys. I bleed purple just like you do. I just hope our guys bring it together. We got a tough task coming in next week with Oklahoma, but you know, it's new schemes, new terminology, new verbiage, new plays, and it takes time. And the average fan, the untrained eye, doesn't recognize that. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I just think the longer and longer this team goes and is unable to run the ball from the running back position, I think they're going to have to start getting Skyler more involved in that run game. And we saw it this last game. I think, what do you have, 10 carries, which is, you know, Gilbert had 14, Skyler had 10.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's our number 2 rusher, only 4 carries behind Gilbert. So I think the more and more we go throughout this season, we're going to see Skyler getting more and more involved. But what'd you think from TCU? We saw Max Duggan at quarterback there, played a pretty decent game. I mean, on that run, I'm sure we're going to see that on SportsCenter for a relatively decent amount of time. Did we talk about Dalton much? I don't recall.
Just a little bit, not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Alex, great kid. I know him personally. Love him. I've known him since he was a youngster in Hayes. My wife actually taught him at Hayes Middle School back in Western Kansas, and I wish the best for him. But I see why Duggan is starting. The kid's a player, and he's one of those guys that has it. He reminds me a lot of Purdy from Iowa State. You know, not as polished as Purdy, but he's an athlete. The guy can play, and he's going to give a lot of teams fits for the rest of the season. And he's surrounded by a bunch of talent. You know, the Rager kid, number 1, he can fly. So I was impressed with him. I was happy that K-State was able to contain him to a certain extent to limit the big runs. But like you said, that one run he had, I was in the stands with everybody else around me, pulling the hair that I don't have out.
Yeah, we were sitting in the north end zone, and that play, he was coming north, and I was like, oh, this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
But then we got to see Skyler's run, which was also coming north after the quarter flip, and that one was a lot more fun to watch as Skyler was running towards us.
Exactly.
But overall, I thought that TCU team. I think they got their guy in Duggan. I think he's young. He'll be around for he's a freshman.
He's a freshman.
Yeah.
I think he's a true freshman.
I think he's a true freshman.
I think he's a true freshman.
Which is, I agree with you. I never played with Alex, but everything I've heard, he's as classy of a guy as it comes.
Right.
He's a great teammate. From until the day he left, he was all purple. He was all K-State.
Right.
He did everything he could to help this team win, which is all you can ever ask of a guy. And he made a decision for himself, which we thought which on paper made total sense. Let's go to TCU. Obviously, they were lacking a quarterback, and he would have a chance to start at a Power 5 conference school, and unfortunately, he got beat out by a true freshman.
Yeah.
So, which I feel bad for the kid but unfortunately, this is the sport of big-time football, and there's no favorites, and
especially at the quarterback position. The quarterback position, you got to have the best guy. So,
exactly. Well, we can sneak peek at the Sooners. First off, did you see the Sooner the Sooner wagon tip over?
I did. I saw the original version of it, and I was like, thank goodness nobody was seriously harmed.
Yeah.
I did laugh a little bit because it was it happened, and the original version I saw was in slow motion. And social media, people add so much to it. And there was one version I saw with the music from Titanic, and it was people are just cruel. But I did see it. Thank goodness nobody was seriously injured. But what were your thoughts?
Shoot, I hated playing at OU. Like, the stupid boomer zoomer gets super annoying and obnoxious.
Right.
It's just annoying because, they're really good. So,
yeah.
It's not a jealousy thing, but it's just like, man, I'm tired of getting beat by OU.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, glad no one was hurt. Did you see the Gus Johnson call of it?
Yeah.
Gus, look at that roll. That's an excellent roll. And Gus is
great. Yeah,
Gus is the best in the business as far as I'm concerned. But
I agree.
So I'm glad no one was hurt. I know that's like second or third time that's ever happened.
Yeah,
so it's not like really who's. I know it's tradition, but it's like, man.
You think they would find a different way or something different? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, that's like a very high risk thing going on.
Yeah.
After touchdowns or half times, whenever they do it. So
right.
It's at the end of the day, glad no one was hurt. But
exactly.
OU, Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Coming to town.
He's a dude, man. I tell you, he's as good as advertised, if not better. I know, Texas has their moments with them when they were playing in the Cotton Bowl, but right now that offense has yet to be slowed down.
Yeah,
they're scary.
And this K-State defense has struggled to slow people down, and
yes.
some offenses that were of lesser caliber than they're going to see this Saturday. So, obviously a tall task. I mean, I think this Oklahoma team. I think as long as the season progresses, they beat Baylor, who's 7-0 now.
Right.
And, they'll be favored throughout the rest of the season in conference play, and win the Big 12 championship. I mean, they're one of the top programs, which as long as they go undefeated, they usually, unless there's 8 undefeated teams or something crazy, they're getting into that college football playoff. Right. And I mean, they are legitimate. They have a legitimate chance to compete for a national championship. I think they have that caliber of team.
Most definitely. Yeah.
They have Lamb at receiver, who's unbelievable. I mean, they just got so many athletes, and
they are Oklahoma.
They are, yeah, and they pull those guys out of Texas, and Oklahoma breeds some ball players down there too. So, but I mean,
here's my thing, and in case in point, last night or a couple nights ago, Texas and Kansas. Not many people gave Kansas a chance to go down to Austin and compete with Texas, and they were right there. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to watch the game because I don't subscribe to the Longhorn Network.
Yeah, I was a little irritated about that. I was like, I was watching I don't remember. Oh, I was watching the Penn State game, which was a blowout, but turned out to be a pretty good game. And I was like, man, I'd really love to flip to this KU Texas game, which I actually care about, but I don't subscribe to the Longhorn Network either.
Right,
so.
and I never will subscribe to the
Longhorn. No, I'm not giving them my money. So,
but here's my thing: watching Oklahoma quite a bit, I'm hesitant to jump on the defense. That they're better. Don't get me wrong; they're a lot better, but they still have some holes where if you come across the right team, you can manipulate the D-backs. They're getting better, but I'm still not sold that they are a complete team. Offense and defense. Are they good? Yeah, top 5, most definitely. But there's an opportunity for some teams in our conference to exploit them, you know, and I think that's going to be shown. Now, does K-State have the ability to do it? If you ask me after watching this past weekend's game, probably not. But if we can control the line of scrimmage early, keep their offense off the field, and give ourselves a chance, you never know.
Yeah, this is going to have to be one of those classic K-State games going back to the Coach Snyder era where K-State controls the ball. They have 0 yards of penalties,
right.
0 turnovers. Oklahoma throws 2 picks and maybe a fumble inside the 10, so we have 8 yards to score a touchdown. And just one of those games where it's holy cows, Oklahoma won every single stat category. Oklahoma beat us, basically, except that you look up on the scoreboard and somehow K-State found a way to win. And which, going back to maybe your time playing, did you ever, were you ever grossly an underdog and found a way to win?
Fortunately, my era, it's kind of ironic. Bob Stoops was my position coach 2 of my years before he left to go to Florida. But at the time, K-State, I played in the Big 8 and the Big 12. I'm telling you how old I am. But when we first started the Big 12, we played every other year because we were North and they were South. So we didn't play them every year. And I was fortunate enough the 2 years I did play them, we beat them. Blake was the head coach 1 year when we beat him, and we beat him down there, and then we beat him here. So I never lost to Oklahoma, which is awesome as far as that.
Shoot, I don't think I beat him.
So we never lost to him, but Bob Stoops and Mike and Jim Levin and Brent Venables, all those guys were on staff, and we had some pretty good defenses and pretty good offenses as well. So I was fortunate enough. They were down, we were up.
Yep.
So it was one of those things where I didn't experience the dominance of Oklahoma. Don't get me wrong. Growing up as a kid in Dallas and watching Texas and OU play, I knew what they were about and the history of Oklahoma. But when I got to K-State, we were up and they weren't. So I'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes total sense. And I think this OU team, which is, I hate to compare them to an NFL team, but they kind of remind me of the Chiefs where they're trying to outscore guys, and they're trying to outscore. And whenever you're trying to do that, you leave yourself susceptible to upsets, in my opinion. When you have that solid defense,
right?
I don't want to say it's easier to play defense, but like it's much. If you're good at defense, you're usually pretty good at defense week in and week out,
no matter what.
And where offense, if you can throw interceptions, you can fumble the ball. There's a lot more big negatives that can happen on the offensive side of the ball. And don't get me wrong, on defense, you can miss a tackle and the guy can run for 80 yards and score on you in under a minute. But whenever you're an offense and your mindset as a team is trying to outscore the opponent, you leave yourself open to getting upset by a few big turnovers.
Right.
And that's what worries me about Oklahoma down the stretch.
Yeah.
Especially, they've already played Texas. They beat them. Probably Baylor's maybe going to be their biggest test in big conference play.
Tech always plays them tough.
Yeah, Tech always plays them tough.
Okie
State's
a rivalry game.
Yeah, rivalry game. That's always a coin flip. So, but going through the gauntlet and then having to either probably play a Texas or a Baylor team again for the Big 12 championship, that's what worries me about that OU team. That's a lot of opportunities for that Jalen Hurts offense to stall and put up 32 or 33 points instead of 43, and now you left the door open for a Texas team or a Baylor team or whoever to score mid to high 30s and win a ball game. So that's what I love, the high flying offense that Lincoln's put together down there. But I don't know, is it a national championship quality team this year? We'll see.
It's early, but they should be in the discussion for sure.
Oh yeah,
they definitely deserve to be there. But it's one of those things. If you look back at the most recent national championships, you look at Clemson, their defense, stellar. Defense, they find a way, and people question their quarterback. He's a youngster. He makes a few mistakes, but the defense always shows up. And when it comes down to it, you got pretty much a month to prepare for somebody. And either you're good or you're not. So we'll see. But
that defense for Clemson was solid. The defense for Alabama is always unbelievable. Even the Big Ten teams that are trying to get there, the Ohio States, the Penn States, those types of teams. I mean, they know it's important, especially the longer and longer. Down the stretch, Big Ten football, cold football, Big 12 football can be cold football, and so it's those defenses, and that's where. I don't know. I'd love, from a Big 12 standpoint, I would love OU to go in there and win the national championship, especially for Jalen Hurts. That'd be super cool for him.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know if there's ever been a player who's won national championships on two separate teams.
Yeah.
That would be
and that they're talking about Oklahoma's going to for the trifecta for the Heisman because you had the kid at Cleveland, what's his name? I can't remember. Baker, and then you had Kyler, and they say Hurts is a Heisman candidate now, so that'd be their back-to-back. That'd be unheard of.
We need them to win a national championship so Lincoln will get out of the Big 12. We need him to go to the NFL.
Exactly.
So he's too good of a coach. No. I love having good coaches and good quality football down here in the Big 12. It makes it interesting. It makes it fun.
It does.
Not to jump too far ahead, but KU the weekend after that.
Yes. I normally don't get excited to go to Lawrence because we know what's going to happen. We're going to win. But, knock on wood, I got a feeling it's going to be good weather. Hopefully our Cats are coming off a huge upset victory.
Huge upset victory.
Hopefully. And we can. It's a short drive from Manhattan to Lawrence, and you get to enjoy and see all the purple overtake Memorial Stadium. That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I saw some stuff. I saw some predictions. I mean, I still think K-State should be the favorite on paper or in Vegas.
Right.
And I don't. I mean, personally, I think K-State's going to win. So.
Right.
But K-State's going to be coming. Let's just hypothetically pretend K-State coming off a loss against OU.
Right.
If KU can find a way to beat Tech this weekend, I mean. And we're on the road in Lawrence. I think this is going to be, the best chance KU has to win in a long time. And I mean, new coaching staff.
Right.
They got a new coaching staff, so it's going to be these rivalry games. I mean, I always played outside my mind in rivalry games. They always play outside their minds in rivalry games. So rivalry games, you just throw everything out the window.
Yeah.
But it's going to be exciting. I want that rivalry to be competitive. I mean, I want to win every single time,
right?
But I want to win by like 2 scores or 3 scores, not 5 scores. And so I want it to be competitive for like the first quarter and a half.
Least, yeah.
And then, because I mean, just beating them 55-7 is
it's fun, but it's not.
I know. I want that rivalry to come back a little bit, and I think this year might be, and last year was a relatively close ball game. So
man, don't remind me.
Yeah, we barely snuck that one out.
Yes,
so
we did.
I think that pendulum is swinging back to competitive football, which is good for the state of Kansas, good for high school football.
Yes.
And so I think it's going to be a competitive ball game. I still think the Cats will probably win by a touchdown or 2. But I'm excited. So
before we get too far off track, I know we're going to be moving forward here pretty soon. How excited were you to see Malik Knowles on the field?
Shoot, yeah, we didn't touch on him.
No, man.
Yeah, which
I didn't think he was going to suit up.
No. I know, and this is just stuff I'm reading off Twitter, so no one call me, tell me I got an inside track to the training room. But, I mean, I know we had heard foot, and then we saw him playing with a knee brace on.
Yeah.
And then we heard it, basically had a pitch count is what kind of Coach Kleiman said after the ball game was, we were just trying to almost save him for that second half, which I'm like, man, you're not supposed to say that, Coach. Like, no, you go play as hard as you can until you drop.
Right.
But, he's the type of special player and that offense did look way better when he was out there.
Like night and day.
Yeah.
I think they had an extra step, and the O-line looked a lot more confident. Scholar looked a lot more confident. And the thing about it, TCU couldn't go man across the board. They had to respect his speed and double up. So, yeah.
Yeah. And before we bring in our former player guest, I do want to pat myself on the back a little bit. So the K-State pregame show with me and Smoller and Mr. Nick Leckie were on this week.
Right.
We always predict K-State victory and score, and we always pick K-State to win. Although I'm on it next week, I don't know how I'm supposed to pick K-State to win next week, but I will. So, and then we get to pick the score. My score prediction was 24-16, and the final score was 24-17. That's about the closest I have ever been to picking a correct score.
So when are we getting our tickets to Vegas? Because I'm going with you.
Shoot, no, I'm not a gambler and not a good gambler, even if I was a gambler. So.
Neither am I. So
you tracked down the player guest this week.
Yeah.
So who we got coming in after the break?
Old teammate of mine. He was a senior when I was a young buck freshman back in '93. Mr. Jaime Mendez. So we're going to bring in, he's in the Ring of Honor, actually, on the stadium, one of the K-State greats. So we're going to bring him in here shortly.
Shoot, man, he was a player.
Yeah,
so I've talked to him a couple times, looking forward to talking to him again here in just a minute. So we'll take a quick break, get him on the line, and we will be back in just a minute.
The Tannahill and Spiller Powercat Podcast is sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. The Fridge is your source for all of your tailgate and party needs. The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
If you're in the market for investment-worthy bags, watches, and fine jewelry, Rebag is the answer. Rebag is a luxury resale marketplace where each piece is carefully vetted and verified by experts to ensure quality and authenticity. If you're in the market, use Rebag to buy and sell finds from the world's top brands, including Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier. Head to Rebag.com to get 10% off your first purchase with code REBAG10. Shop today at Rebag.com. That's REBAG.com. And use promo code REBAG10 for 10% off your first purchase.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
And now we return to the Tannahill and Spiller Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor.
Welcome back. We got Mr. Jaime Mendez on the phone, Wildcat great. He's first off, Jaime, thanks for joining us. Kind of give us the scoop. Where you at? What's life up to nowadays, and where are you calling us from?
Well, thanks for having me, guys. First of all, life is good, no complaints. I am still in Los Angeles. Been out here, for 23 years now, so a long time.
Man.
Yeah, man. 96 was my last year playing.
Right.
And I've been here ever since. Came out here at the time working for Mr. Merrill, cereal food processors, who used to be a big donor of the university. And once I got out of that job, I never left. I just stayed. So I've been here ever since. So this is home. Yeah, so everything's good. Got a 7-year-old son. I just sent off my 22-year-old adopted niece to graduate school.
Okay.
So we got a little bit of an empty nest situation going on. And other than that, just running my academy and my other credit card business, just trying to enjoy my life out here a little bit.
Nice. Dodging wildfires, I saw, too. Wasn't that you the other day on Facebook giving us the wildfire report?
Man, I was actually giving it to my neighbors. That's how close it was. It was literally, Travis, it was up the street. It was that close.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We were just we were having some trouble communicating via the cell network because some of the towers had burned down. And also, social media is good for some things, and that's one of the things we were able to do. We were able to communicate that way. So it got pretty scary. We had a hairy couple of days here.
Yeah. Well, glad you're all right. Yeah, we were up in Napa over the summer and got to see the devastation from all the wildfires. And yeah, we got tornadoes and floods around here. You guys got those wildfires, so
man,
the winds.
But every part of the country has something, Yep,
so. Exactly. Hey, if I'm remembering right, did you come talk to us? It would have been like 2009 probably at UCLA. Would you have come? Did you come down to that? Okay.
Okay.
I'm making sure I remember that. I know you've talked to us a couple times in Manhattan when I was playing, and that was always great to hear from you and, see your name. Having a guy talk to you whose name's up on the stadium, that's there's only, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them up there. So that's I don't remember you playing just because of age differences, but I've heard the stories.
Yeah, you were. Were you even born then? You probably were just a baby. You were.
I was born in 90, so I would have been 6.
Barely.
You would have been a baby. Yeah, you'd have been a baby when we were playing. But
I can tell those stories.
Yes, Monty, you can tell all the stories exactly. But yeah, it's always an honor to come back and speak to the team. I haven't done it in a while, but I always enjoy it. Whenever they call, I usually say yes.
Well, Jaime, I know, and a lot of people out there may or may not know, you're originally from Youngstown, Ohio, and there's a lot of tradition, a lot of great football players, coaches, that Cardinal Mooney program in the area. Tell us a little bit about where you came from and, how you got to Manhattan, and obviously you're living in California now. But tell us a little bit about Ohio and your family and upbringing back there.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, a real tough steel mill, old Rust Belt type town, and huge football tradition. The state of Ohio is like, there's about big 5 or 6. You got Texas, Ohio, Georgia, Florida, Pennsylvania, California. Georgia, those states that are known with just to have really, really good high school football programs throughout. So I grew up in Youngstown, went to Cardinal Mooney, which is, one of the powerhouses in the state. Right. So every year you're expected to not only win your conference title, but to get to the state championship. So, the pressure was always there. So, I enjoyed that. I always embraced that type of stuff. And, I played under Ron Stoops and Don Butchie, and I know the name Stoops is going to ring a bell to a lot of people. So Ron Stoops was the father of Bob, Mike, Ron Stoops Jr., and Mark Stoops. Right. And so their dad was my high school coach, and I knew all of them growing up. Since I was in probably 6th grade, I met them, because one of the things you could do back when I played in the state of Ohio is if you were a Catholic school, you could recruit. Right. So they would recruit on the in the junior high and then throughout the Catholic leagues and stuff like that. So they recruited us at a young age, and I ended up there. And back then it was, there was no, you didn't have to hide it. There was nothing. It's like, yes, we're one of 2 Catholic schools in the city, and we are recruiting all the best kids we can get to come and play at these schools. Right. So I got to know the Stoops family really well. So when that's really how I ended up at Kansas State. I mean, I love Coach Snyder. I consider him one of the top 5 or 6 top male influences in my life. But if it wasn't for Bob Stoops, I would have never went to Kansas State University. So Bob was what got me there. First, second, third in line was all Bob. So I'm always thankful to him for that. But yeah, that's how I ended up at Kansas State, man. I had like a lot of us back in those days, I was a tweener. I wasn't really big enough to play a weak side linebacker position. Right. And they thought at the time that I might have been a little too slow to play safety or corner, all that type of stuff. Right. So the same thing that almost all of us heard when you end up at Kansas State. But I was lucky enough to get offers from schools, and at the end, I was actually offered by Ohio State, which was my dream come true. I always wanted to go play for Ohio State, So if you grew up in Ohio, it's like if you grew up in Texas, you want to go to Texas, Texas A&M, so on and so forth. So I got that, and then right after that came, Bob comes in because he had just gotten the job at Kansas State, and he goes, "Listen, I know you were thinking of going to Ohio State, a couple other schools." He goes, "But would you just do me a favor and come and check out Kansas State?" And at the time, well, but the funny thing for me, guys, was I was very ignorant. I didn't know hardly anything about Kansas State because, Ohio's Big Ten country. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and the only schools you hear about from back then, the Big 8, you only heard of Oklahoma, Colorado, and Nebraska. You didn't really hear. And then since Kansas State was the worst of the worst, I had no idea who they were whatsoever. I didn't know they were the Wildcats. I didn't know anything. And but I loved Bob and I trusted him, and I admired him. So I was like, you know what? For you, Bob, I'll go. Right. So we went. When I got there, nobody was even in school. I mean, it was winter break. The place was empty. I was there with a couple other guys from Youngstown. I forget who was with me. But a couple guys who didn't end up going there. But some other guys from Youngstown came on the trip with me. And we went and I got to see a basketball game. Okay. And I met Coach Snyder, and all I saw was pictures. I mean, I think I've told this part of this interview to a million people. He didn't sell us on anything that was there. He's like, look at these pictures. This is what the uniform is going to look like. This is what the stadium is going to look like. This is what the weight room is going to look like. He goes, don't pay attention to anything you see right now. And here I am, this really just dumb 17-year-old at the time. I was like, sure, I'll listen. I was like, why not? And I still, when I left, I was like, I love Bob. I love, and Coach seemed really nice. But I was like, I'm not going to go to school there, And then I found out how bad they were. I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to go to school. So, but I get home, I got home a couple days after I got home, and my parents and I talked about it, and they go, my parents love Bob as well. They go, what do you think? I go, I love Bob. And he's telling me I could play right away, and da-da-da. I was like, but Mom and Dad, they're horrible. The stadium, our high school stadium is as nice as that thing, and we're going all that type of stuff. But then, lo and behold, a couple of days later, Bob comes to my house with Coach Snyder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think on Tuesday. I get home on Sunday or what have you, and on Tuesday or Wednesday, they're in my home talking to my mom and dad.
Wow.
And me, and just saying how, you will be one of the cornerstones of this program. You're good. You'll play for 4 years. If you go to Ohio State, you're going to sit for 3. You're probably not even going to start. Yeah, like you're going to redshirt. Then you're not going to play. Then you're going to play special teams. Then by the time you're a junior, you might be in rotation. Senior year, you might start. He goes, is that what you want, or do you want to play for 4 years? So that really kind of resonated with me, and my parents loved Coach Snyder when he came to the house, and they always loved Bob. That was not a thing. And then also, one of the things they did, which was really slick on their part, they got Carl Pelini to go coach there. Carl Pelini was my position coach at Cardinal Mooney.
Right.
So he's my position coach, and he's going to come GA for us. So I was like, whoa. So they bring Carl in, and then we're going to get Mike Stoops to come in. Mike's going to coach. And we got 4 or 5 other Youngstown guys ready to go. All you guys are going to come in together. So you got this group of guys coming in. And then they brought Tim Beck in. Tim's now I believe, the offensive coordinator at Texas, right?
That sounds right. I want to say, yeah.
Yeah. Tim was a Cardinal Mooney guy, too, that I knew really, really well. So we're going to bring Tim in. You're gonna have a bunch of people that you're going to feel comfortable. At the end of the day, that's what sold me on it. I mean, Carl was talking to me. He's like, hey, it's basically you and me just going to college together, and,
right.
And Bob's going to be there. And so that's what it took to get me there. That's how I ended up there.
Well, it's safe to say you made the right decision, and I know a lot of K-State fans, and I'm assuming your family as well, and I know me having the opportunity to be your teammate. I learned a lot from you, Mario, a couple other guys, Kit, those guys that were older. I'm glad that you came, and I'm glad I was able to be a part of that team in that secondary. So,
well, thank you, man. It was an honor, man. I wouldn't change anything for the world. That was. Yeah. And one of the ironic things is we were better than Ohio State my senior year. We were ranked 12 or 13 or whatever it was. Yep. Yeah, we were ranked higher than them, so that was the best part of it all. Yep. And then just to have the brotherhood that we have with all the people that I play with. I don't speak to you all the time, but you call me today. What's the first thing I say? I was like, "What's up, Hermano?" I'm
exactly.
like right off the bat, it's like my boy Monty calling me.
Right.
It's just family, man, and So, I love that place. I try to get back as often as I can, but living out here is just not easy.
I heard.
So.
Yeah, that brotherhood. Yeah, I know I had it with the guys we were with, and kind of similar situation on, we were bad when I showed up. Yeah. And by the end of it, we were competing, almost made it to a national championship, which is still a little crazy, but it's
oh yeah.
But hey, real quick, do you stay? Is Bob ever going to get back into coaching? I mean, I know from what the answers, what we get is the health issues, and which I think is legit, I think. But as he, you see the guys like, Urban Meyer, they sit out for a few years and they can't get rid of that itch. Yeah. Have you?
Right. He's in the XFL now, right?
Oh, he is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. He is in the XFL. Yeah. So maybe he's scratching that down there. But man, I would love to see Bob back in college football, especially the Big 12.
Well. I would and wouldn't,
Yeah, maybe not the Big 12, anywhere but the Big 12.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. One of the things that he and I try to do when we see each other is not talk about any of that stuff.
I understand.
We talk about Youngstown. We talk about family. We do talk about this. All the nonsense we did when we were there together. We laugh about all that type of stuff. Oh, but we kind of stay away from those conversations. So honestly, Travis, I couldn't give you an answer, sir. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. No, and I wasn't trying to snoop. I was just curious. I know that he's a heck of a ball coach, and college football is a better place with him in it. So I'd love to.
Oh, I agree.
But shoot, maybe he can get this XFL off the ground. That'd be kind of fun too.
Yep, that's what he's doing right now. That's what the Dallas team, I believe.
Yeah, that's hometown for me. So I was excited to see that. Coach Stoops was the head coach down there, so I'll definitely be cheering for him and the Dallas team. Real quick, Jamie, before we let you go. So I'm assuming you got a chance to see the game this past weekend against TCU. What are your thoughts on the current team, the situation, and then the upcoming game, homecoming with OU? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll tackle the game first. Coming up, the OU game. As much as I want to say what's going to happen, we all know they have a tough task ahead of them. Oklahoma is one of the top teams in the country. Jalen Hurts is playing the way Jalen Hurts has always played. He's in Heisman contention. That team is just really good from top to bottom. So for Kansas State to win that game, they're going to have to play the best game they've played all year long, and Oklahoma's probably going to have to play one of the worst games they've played all year long. That's just being honest. I at this point in time, so there have been plenty of times where we've beaten them and should have beaten them and so on and so forth. But Coach Kleiman's first year in the program, I just think that's where we are right now. I would love to see them compete and play hard. And definitely just keep the game in hand and make a game of it. Look what Kansas did with Texas last week. I mean, anything's possible. We all know that. On any given Saturday, anybody could get anybody. So I hold out that hope. But I know that if Oklahoma comes to play the way they play normally, Kansas State's in for a tough day, I think.
Yeah.
That was our analysis as well before we brought you on. Was we need about 2 fumbles and 3 interceptions, and
I would love to give us the homer thing and just we're definitely going to win and so on and so forth. I really want them to win. I'm going to watch the game, I'm watching. I'm going to have my purple and silver on, representing all day long,
right?
Regardless of what happens. But that's how I look at that. As far as what happened this past weekend and the way the program's going, I like what I see. I know that change is always difficult, and change in the heartland is extremely difficult. People were so used to Coach Snyder and the way we've done things for almost 3 decades there. So embracing the new staff and the way they do things, I know was difficult for some people. But I'll say this, when you watch them play, they really don't look that much different.
I agree.
The concepts are very similar. Other than the getting under center a lot, the student body eye and those sorts of things that they're running, the idea of running the ball, the idea of playing really good special teams, all those things are still staples. Did they succeed running the ball this last weekend? No, they didn't. But TCU's run defense is always really, really good. Mm-hmm. And Coach Patterson is a genius, and he knew that we don't have a lot of breakaway receivers at this time, and that Knowles was hurt. So he did what any coach would have done. He stacked the box and said, "I dare you to beat me throwing the ball."
Yeah.
And that was a good game plan on their part. But Skyler stepped up.
Yep.
I thought he played great. With what he had, I thought they made the plays when they needed to. So, the team is coming around. I really like what I see throughout the program, and I think that as he gets more of his players in there, the type of players that he's looking for, and we can get some breakaway receivers and some explosive running backs in the program, I think they're going to be fine because I like the concept, and I love the defense. Marty, I know you feel me. That whole running, the way they stem all over the place, the man coverage, the movement. I mean, the Jones kid, the free safety, he's at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And then, right before the snap, he's bailing out. I'm jumping up and down, screaming over here, using words that I can't use on this interview, but I'm so happy. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Movement.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah, you're moving, making the quarterback think at the last second. That shell that we've been playing for the last decade drove me absolutely insane. Every week drove me insane.
I'm glad you feel the same way because I bit my tongue a couple of times, but no, I'm with you. It was tough to see.
Yeah, confusing a freshman quarterback, and then 2, I just love the kind of the mentality on the defensive side of the ball on I mean, it was fourth down. They had to get a first down to keep the drive alive with whatever, a minute left in the ball game. And K-State brings pressure.
Yeah.
And we don't do that the last decade. And I don't know if it was a pass or something happened where it was a terrible throw. Yeah. And it's like, we just put our corners on an island with, I think there still might have been one safety back, but I was like, we don't make that play call, and I love it. And it forced an error from a young quarterback, and at the end of the day, it won us the ball game. So I love the defensive aggressiveness we're seeing, and then I agree with you on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, it's the same philosophy, and it's the same get better every day, hard work. We're in this for the long haul. This isn't a get rich quick scheme overnight, get good quick overnight scheme. I mean, it's going to take some time and to get his guys in there. So I love everything I'm saying, just like you are, Jamie.
Yeah. I think that you got to give them a ton of credit. They're 4-2, in the Big 12 conference, and they're playing on offense in particular really hamstrung. You're in a new system. You lost your two top receivers before the season even started. Then your next explosive receiver has been hurt for half the season. That in and of itself is, and you're trying to run the ball, and everybody knows you're trying to run the ball, and they know, oh, wait, you don't have any receivers, so we're going to put everybody in the box. And I don't mean any disrespect to the young men that are playing receiver for us. I mean, their pedigree isn't. They haven't shown, oh, yes, we've been here for a long time and we have a long resume. So the coaches on the other side are going to just, we're going to make you guys beat it. And I think players like McGill stood up, I don't know number 13's name, but he made a huge catch in the game. I think Knowles, when he got in there and shown, all those guys played their butts off, and that's why we won the game. So my hats go off to them. But I just think the offense is going to be 2-3 years from now is going to be really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
As we get more of his type of people in there, and I think that if we can hold on to Scotty, because I got a funny feeling that guy's name is going to get hot with the style of defense that he's playing now in the Big 12.
Oh yeah.
I think a couple years from now, we might have to look for a replacement for him, but you would hope that they would continue the same type of system. I love that aggressive style. Monty, you remember we were always the only person that wasn't 5 yards off the ball was me.
That
everybody else was on the line of scrimmage, and we were like, we dare you. We dare you to throw the ball. Yeah. And I love it. Good. They're setting the agenda and the tempo, and that's what I like.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll let you go here, but I got one more question for you. Just what do you think about the white helmets and the white pants?
I at first I was like, oh, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I liked it. I'm actually excited to see what things look like next year and the year after that. I am not the traditionalist that a lot of people would think, oh, we got to stay the way we were dressed. I love the idea of changing up. I think it looks cool, and I think that excites the kids. I know that, looking on social media all week before that game, it was all about the white pants and the white helmet.
Right.
So I'm really excited to see what the other combinations they come with in the next couple of years look like.
Yeah, it was really weird. We came this last game, we get back to the traditional silver and purple, right. And I was like, it almost made me appreciate it more. Yeah. I was like, oh, I needed to change up to remind me how good our basics are.
Yeah.
And so,
our basic, is Cowboys. It look like the Cowboys. I think it's a fantastic look. It's a clean look, but in today's NCAA and today's Power 5, these kids want to see the flashy, cool uniforms, and I think that you do that 3 times a year, what have you. There you go. And the rest of the times, you're locked into your what are traditional uniforms, but you just have it so the kids can see it, and it looks. And you know what else? From my standpoint, when it comes to buying gear, you got other stuff to play with now. We don't. So. Yeah, so I'm all for it. I know some guys, a lot of my friends are like, dude, that's sacrilegious. And I go, hey, man, you know what? I got my boys hitting me on text and DM and go, guys, we are old. Can we just let it go? It's time for let these young men enjoy it and look different than we did. It's still the same school.
Yep, exactly. It's still smash mouth Big 12 football. So
exactly.
Well, we appreciate you spending a little 15, 20 minutes with us. Thank you very much. Until next time, go Cats. Cheer loud this weekend going against OU. Thanks, Jamie.
You got it. I appreciate it, guys.
All right, take care, brother.
Take care. All right, my man. Later, guys.
Yes,
Bye.
sir.
All righty. Any last words, Monte?
Big week, homecoming. It's going to be fun around here. I'm hoping the weather cooperates. You get all the festivities around town, the parade through Aggieville. And the thing about it, 11 o'clock game. The last time we played an 11 o'clock game, I believe, was at Mississippi State on the road, and we got to win.
Yeah, that can sneak up on good teams on the road, 11 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah.
That can games that are already a little prone for the better team to be taking it for granted.
Right.
That can almost compound that effect. Sometimes it's noon 12:30 before they wake up, and K-State's going up, going into half 14-7 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but man, Jaime's a good dude. I don't know him very well.
Love him.
He's spoken to me a few times when I was on the team, but never shaken his hand once or twice, but never really had a conversation with him. So you can see why he was an integral part of turning that ship around. I had no idea about the Stoops history.
Yeah, man.
That takes a lot of courage and a lot of trust in a high school football coach to follow him down to the middle of Kansas.
Can you imagine it? Shoot, even when you were in high school, can you imagine a coach coming to your house showing you a picture, saying, this is what it could possibly look like?
Yeah.
You're like, get out of my house, dude.
Yeah, no, especially, he's getting recruited by Ohio State. I was a very average recruit. And I remember, isn't it crazy? Recruiting is just crazy. And we'll have to do some recruiting podcast in the off season. But, you know how your brain was when you were a 16, 17-year-old kid. I'm like, there's no way these kids should be allowed to make decisions on where they're going.
Yeah.
And it's it's the grace of God that I ended up where I did and turned out great. It's amazing how many, I had offers from other schools that, especially, KU, and it's like, shoot, I could have gone there and won one game my whole career, or I came here and, got to, won a Big 12 championship and almost got to play for a national championship.
And now you're hanging out with me.
Shoot, I know. and now, we both choose to live in Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah, exactly, seriously.
And ended up here. I met my spouse here. And so, it's crazy how such a little decision when you're 16 years old and you're probably not qualified to make that decision stems to lifelong friendships and great memories and a loyalty to the purple people eaters, the Powercats, and that we will cherish with us for the rest of our lives. So
definitely.
Well, until next week, hopefully in 7 days, we are discussing a national upset.
Yes.
One of the top upsets of the year in the country.
Yes.
I'll be at the game, cheering loud.
I'll be there as well.
So hopefully we'll need a big fourth down stand where I'll get to contribute. I love those when I get to feel like I'm making a difference. So until next time, appreciate you guys listening. This is the Tannahill and Spiller Podcast. We'll talk to you guys after OU.
All right.
You've been listening to the Tannahill and Spiller Powercat Podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.